Good evening from Vietnam. How are you today?
Uh, Thank you for inviting me. For me, it's still almost midday, so appeared the world is very small. Thanks to COVID, we understood that we could be connected any time. Thank you.
Yeah, at least that's one of the things that come out good from COVID situation, right? So we've been connecting since July of last year. It's almost a year now. So great to have to see you again, have you back to the show. Oleg, thank you so much for spending your time with us, knowing that you just came back to London and resettle everything in the city again. I really
Thank,
appreciate that.
thank you. But it's not London, it's Birmingham.
Ah,
Birmingham is
Birmingham.
nice as London.
Oh, I thought it's
Nice as
London. I'm
London.
sorry. I thought
It's
it's
still
London.
lovely. It's still amazing,
Yeah.
but it's much friendlier.
Mm.
Thank you.
Uh, Oleg, we would love to let the people understand more stories of you. What makes you become who you are today? Where people call you the Da Vinci Code of vision, right? So the Da Vinci of vision and leadership. So basically, but not a lot of people will have the privilege to know your childhood, what you dream, and the road that you've been walking to make you who you are today. So this talk today is all about you. All right. So can you help us to first introduce about yourself so our audience will know who you are? Can you do that for now, please?
Ah, in a very short sentence, I'm an explorer, right? I'm exploring grand solutions for grand problems,
Mm,
right? And that would define me in the best possible way.
mm,
And since my childhood, I was very keen to be at sea, exploring something, or facing challenges, some kind of facing different moments. Yes, I spent the time at sea myself. I was at sea as a second engineer on the deep sea fishing trawlers. So, but exploring the world is great, but exploring old self and exploring what lies beyond of things that we see
mm,
is more fascinating. And
mm,
so when I was a child, I dreamt, oh, I want to be an explorer. I was amazed by all these famous novels written by Jack London or something similar. I dreamt about Vikings, having a little bit of Vikings genes in me, and it was amazing. But now I fully understand when you hold that world within you,
mm,
you could travel it every day and you would explore something new beyond your imagination.
mm,
Because what look at this at our life. If people say, okay, can you share your CV? Well, it's a pile of facts, but actually, the real life, it's amount of impressions that we have and what we have learned from them.
mm,
And this is something I couldn't even been able to imagine when I was young.
mm,
I was thinking, yeah, it's about getting from here to there or traveling from that place to that place. No, it's about how you could think about it, how you could feel it, how you could feel it at your fingertips. And
mm,
that is very different. And another side of my life is I spent many, many years living in Arctic. And Arctic is such a place where, for instance, in the summertime, you could face all four seasons in one day. It could be snow,
mm,
and then rain, then sunshine, then some kind of a windy storm in one day. So everything changes so fast, so incredible. You need to be, I wouldn't say agile, but you need to be really strong
mm,
to survive in such an environment. And you learn that change is good.
mm,
You learn that you need to be ahead of that storm. What I'm always saying, all visionaries, they are not afraid of the storm, they're the storm themselves.
mm,
but you need to go through different life experiences to understand that, yes, you are the storm yourself, and which is important. You can't be someone who is scared of or really afraid of changes and still declaring, I want to change. No, no. You must have, you must get quite a few bruises over your life to learn, hey, it's tough, but you still could stand up and go and explore something incredible.
So that explorer boy back then, what did he think in his wild imagination that, years later, what is he gonna become?
A few days ago,
Uh,
I had a conversation with a friend of mine, old
uh,
friend Vesa. We studied with him together at master's degree, and since then we're friends.
uh,
And we've not been talking for a few months. And when I relocated back to the UK, we just like immediately on the phone. He lives not far from away from here, and he said, "I do remember a gangster from a fishing industry, and you have changed my." you know, it's it's a bit of a transformation. So if somebody would be said to me like 10, 15 years ago that I will be writing books, I would be laughing. Because, guys, I'm a from a fishing, leave me alone. I could do many other things, but writing looks boring, and it's like, it's some kind of a nerd. And it's like, now I'm just thinking, I'm grateful for my previous experience within the fishing industry, but now it's not about producing content. No, it's about creating solutions and sharing those solutions with the world through writing, for instance, or through delivering corporate trainings or whatever services I provide as a coach, as a consultant, as a speaker. That is very, very different. And believe me or not, this is a huge leap in my own understanding what I'm capable of. It's more or less, we all have pattern thinking, and we are all good at asking the same questions again and again, because those questions are convenient for us. We are not about to ask inconvenient questions beyond our immediate understanding, beyond our convenience. And every time you learn to ask those questions to yourself, what I could do better, where I could improve, what lies behind that cause, or what could lead me to a better solution, it makes me stronger. And of course, it leads to, I would say, the actual nature of human being, thinking and acting. Not just acting. It's about thinking and acting. That is very, very different transformation. So if you would be asking me this question 10 years ago, I will be laughing. Saying, me writing books, forget about it. But now, I wrote 5 books on my own, and recently we're finishing a great new work with a colleague of mine, John Spence, and still within that field of vision and how to think vision. And I wrote quite a few more in collaboration with others. I think it becomes a second nature, because now I'm walking around with a little notepad, taking notes. Oh, I got an idea, just like putting it in a pocket. And people thinking that I'm just like making a shopping list. It's far not a shopping list.
I think that my wife also say that I'm crazy sometimes. That I left on my bed, like a pen and a notebook. So sometimes when we slept, right, and then ideas came. I just woke up and then I just jot it down to the notebook, and so tomorrow, when the sun rises, then we'll remember. And I really like the story you share. If your friend and you talk about you writing a book was, like something that beyond their imagination. And it's to me the same thing. I had a very wild life when I was very very young. So I am a connecting person since I was very very young. So I'm everywhere. I met the people every city, and a different type of people too. The people in the good society, also the people in the negative society, in the not good society also. And then so people, we have the perception that I am the person playing around until I start writing a book. I introduced my first book, then my four books now, and people say they cannot believe it. And to me, I was like, wow, me too. And the funny thing is, I'm coming from the science background. Okay, so in Asia, normally the people in here, they're good at math, they're good at physics, they're good at chemistry and things like that. And writing is not something that I'm good at. And then so it's the learning process. I think that is really really fun. You put that your thought onto a computer, sit in the computer and start writing things that come through your thought is pretty fun.
So, it's, for instance, I've been asked, what is the process of writing? What
Mm,
is the out? And I believe you have the same experience because when you finish writing a solid book, your first experience, I'm fully exhausted.
yeah.
And then you start, like within a week or two, you're getting back to normal. And it's well before the book is actually published, but at least it's already submitted to an editor, to a publisher. And it comes that you realize, hey, it's not what I have put on the paper. It's about how this work impacted me. And
Mm,
when you understand that you have grown with your work and you've grown tremendously,
mm,
that's a really good book. Because if you just put something on a paper that you already know, no,
mm,
it's just like some kind of, I would say, in the best scenario, it's just an article
mm,
or a blog post. But if you're really working on something serious, the main outcome, you're transforming yourself in a great way because you grow with it.
mm,
If you don't grow with a book, it's not a book.
mm,
It's just a pile of words,
mm,
which, well, in a good sense, they might be good, but
mm,
they wouldn't impact your readers. They wouldn't impact other people. You
mm,
have nothing unique or something valuable to share
mm,
with people. And that, I believe you have the same experience because it's about, yes, you're exhausted, but you are really transformed. And this is like a rebirth or an invention of yourself.
yep.
That's a great book.
Mm. All right.
And here comes a notion that you mentioned that Asian people, or many people who are good at math, I used to be good at math, not as good as these days. Uh, you have that mathematical logic which helps you to structure
Mm,
what your thoughts, your ideas, because if you don't have that structure, you're delivering a mess.
mm, true.
And it would be complicated. You can't make it simple.
Mm,
The rule of math makes something complicated in a simple equation.
yep.
That's exactly the same about writing books,
Yep.
isn't it right?
Yep, it is right. I think that like when I start to do something is pretty structured, even in the thinking already. So I'm trying to put it in my thinking first to categorize and start to structure it out, and then we put it on writing so that we put it on like on a board or something so that we can see and start to
Yeah.
connect things together. And I think that that's the strength, the advantage, having from having good skill in math, in science, like topics. uh, Professor Oleg, I have a question that a lot of my audience would like to ask, because your thinking is very very deep, and you chose the topic of the problems that's very very hard to solve, to work on also. and that foster you to think a lot. All right. And these days, we believe that people have, need to improve a lot on their ability to think. All right, their thinking ability is not increasing, but actually is declining. And so every time that we got a chance to talk to thought leaders like you are, we would like to know how Oleg is doing the thinking. Can you share with us your technique of doing that?
Hmm, good question.
Question.
First of all, you must be very good at listening.
Listening.
Yeah, because you can't learn without listening.
Mm.
I love talking to different people.
Mm.
Like at a coffee shop, you're talking to a stranger and you just like talk about whatever, nothing specific, but you're
Mm.
just listening and you just observing that person. You're getting a lot of lessons from people
Mm.
that you know that life allowed us to meet. You are listening to your friends, colleagues, people who you really respect, admire.
Mm.
Because without listening, you can't learn. You also must listen to the world around you, to the environment, not just to events, because events sometimes are quite noisy and they're misleading. But you're listening how people change, what's changing. It's not about catching the trends.
Mm.
It's about seeing big signals.
Mm.
What would be more important? Because we have a big problem where all of us
Mm.
are taught or being advised to be smart. No.
Mm.
If we're leadership, you must be wise. And here comes the difference. When we are smart, we are good at reading strong signals which are in front of us. They're on the headlines, they're on the front pages, they just happen.
Mm.
It's like if you look outside, the weather such and such, which is the strongest signal, it's obvious.
Mm.
But you're looking for tiny, tiny little signals, which you must be really good at listening and observing them, which would show you really what will come. Therefore, you're focusing your thoughts on the things that will come. They are not visible yet. People are not recognizing them. You must be good at them. So you're looking at the sky for a sign of those little clouds that might bring a storm,
Mm.
which is very important.
Mm.
You need to look inside of you.
Inside of
What
us.
actually, like for instance, we discussed that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, a gangsters from the fishing industry now with the visionary leadership, it's a bit different.
Mm.
Therefore, my thinking is very, very different.
Mm.
I was more into operations, huge scale of international operations, and therefore it's like 24/7 on alert, on a phone calls, all those things. Now it's more about refining what's important, what's not important, what
Mm.
I'm focused on, and what I'm just shooting, what I should not do, and how do I grow?
Mm.
Because when you grow, you assume responsibility towards self and towards others, and it
Mm.
comes from within. I am responsible. Who am I, and how I could improve? What is this room for improvement? What I
Mm.
could do better? It's all within you. You're looking for things which, then you look for the things which are around you.
Mm.
How other people do think. Uh, whether you are watching a great play of some kind of a phenomenal sports team, or you're listening to some kind of a phenomenal concert, how people think, how they work together.
Mm.
Whatever those things, they are important.
Mm.
This is how what's around you, what improves, to understand what I could do again,
Mm.
where I could improve. I could look, okay, how other thinkers
Mm.
or great experts, think, not just what they produce or wrote, what's the logic of the way they think, what I could learn from them. Of course, it's about evaluating, okay, am I disciplined? Am I focused? It's all about this, not being flimsy, but being really, really into thoughts. You see, I had a privilege to be in conversation with quite a great, actually, psychologist across the globe from different countries, and they all come to some kind of an interesting observation. On average, an ordinary human tend to hold one thought for about 10 seconds. Right? And that's one of the reasons why we are very good on judging people. Because it's binary. Yes or no. It takes less than a second to say, I like it or don't like it, without even thinking. But if you're about to create some kind of a great solution, 10 seconds is far not enough. You need to think just like, okay, you can't hold one thought for days because you still would be judged. You need food, you need human reflexes, you need interaction, you need to focus on people with who do you talk to. But it's about to be able to hold that thought for much longer than 10 seconds. Or, be focused. And here comes another thing. I'm really blessed, privileged, lucky to be able to learn from phenomenal people like Marshall Goldsmith. I've learned a lot of lessons. He is a wisdom himself, right? And being one of his coaches, I have learned a lot from him, right? So you better have mentor or coach. I have a great co-author, John Spence. John says that I am good. No, he is good. He is better. And I'm learning a lot of things from him. So I am blessed to be able to learn from many people. So be prepared to be a pupil of a great, of someone who is really great. Not just saying, oh, I know everything.
Wow. But in order,
quite a few things that helps you to reshape. And also another thing is, when we think, we believe the pattern of thinking will remain the same. No. Every success, every new project demands a new way of thinking. And this is where you should learn quickly to think differently. That will lead to a very different result. You can't walk into the same river twice, as you know.
Yep.
So every time you need to learn how to think differently.
But how can we make ourselves think differently? If we've been successful for one project, and then if you come to the next project, normally the tendency is for us to use the past success as the example, as a ground base for us to try something, to put our thinking on that and reinvent, instead of reinventing the wheel. How do we build the curiosity mindset so that we can, ask ourselves questions that foster our thinking differently, though?
Maybe it's not very appropriate, but I'll come back with a reverse question. If we talk about success, and a new success, and another success, it's all about setting new goals, which are greater than your previous success. If you're setting the same goal, it's not a success. It's just repeating an old result. And success is a short-term result of a long-term commitment. Therefore, if you're committed to something greater than you achieved before, it immediately demands a new way of thinking. If you don't want to do anything greater than you have done before, you don't need to think differently. You're okay with an old pattern of thinking. As soon as you realize it will be different.
Got it. Dr. Oleg, I like to ask you, a little bit into the future. Okay, is there anything that you
Okay.
are working on that exciting, and you want us to celebrate in advance with you?
I'm still expanding because the area of the field of vision is so huge. And it's like opening a Pandora box when I just wrote the vision code
Mm.
and I start working with my clients on it. And when I realized how deep, how strong that area is, and it's so many things to explore within just that area, I was shocked and amazed.
Mm.
And I'm working now on the thing how to think vision, how to connect vision strategy in people. So there are many things which is still to be shown, and it's a bit early to share uh, as a final result of something. But it's such a different dimension of our life because it reflects future, and
Mm.
the future is actually much greater than our
Mm.
past.
Mm.
So it's such a huge field, it's such a huge planet to be explored.
Mm. Yep.
I just mapped a road to it, but within that territory of the future, so many things to explore for
Mm.
every one of us.
When you look at this, Alec. We're trying to see into the future, right? And then we always want to head on to the future so that we have something that we aiming to become and aiming to do. But the future looks scary now, as a lot of uncertainties, a lot of things that unclear. The war in Ukraine, the COVID
Yeah.
19, and a lot of things that make the future become so vulnerable. So how can leaders build the vision beyond those vulnerabilities to make sure that companies, regardless, will still having heading to the right direction and things like that?
It's simple because some time ago I realized, first of all, and it was a result of reflecting on some kind of a professional crisis. And I realized what is greater, my goals or my problems? When you would understand that your goals for a future are greater than your present problems, you will focus on that future.
Hmm.
And here you need vision because vision is only a certain thing in a certain environment because you know that I will work towards that vision.
Hmm.
And yes, the world is full of nasty surprises. For instance, I am British of Russian origin. My father lives in Ukraine, and that war is beyond a disaster for me
Hmm.
personally. And I have studied in Ukraine, and I have a lot of friends there. And of course, being of Russian origin for me is just like, if I will focus on that war purely, or should I focus on my role to create solution
Hmm.
that will help people after the war, during the war,
Hmm.
whatever the circumstances. I must stick with my role and I must stick with my vision. This
Hmm.
is the most certain thing. Because if I'll start jumping from one side to another, supporting this, I would lose myself.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be creating any value for people from that moment.
Ah.
I will be an epicenter of emotions. The world is full of emotions. We are lacking solutions. So I'll better stick with solutions.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining and sharing this, Dr. Oleg. I really appreciate your time and really appreciate the wisdom that you brought to us today. I uh, I really admire of exactly of what you want to do, and you have the the passion to dive in deeper onto vision and how to help organizations, help leaders to create better vision and link the vision to the strategy and these people, and 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 that works that you are doing will actually helping businesses to be stronger, and then because of that, the people who works for that organizations will be also having the benefit from from the leaders and where the company is heading, and that is important. So Oleg, thank you so much for doing that. Keep doing that and doing that a lot more. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
and thank you for what you do, because sharing with the world is a tremendously important role.
Mm,
You do you were amazingly great. Thank you.
thank you very much.